Mad Sports Radio.
What is that which gives me joy? Baseball.
This is the Bronx is Burning podcast.
There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
All right, Mike Damergis here, along with the great Mike Torrez, 1977 world champion, and the legendary New York sports host, Marc Malusis, for over 30 years here in the New York area. The inaugural The Bronx is Burning podcast. We're going to take you through September, through the pennant chase here into October, get Mike's perspective on things. And right off the bat, Mike and Mark, last night's loss was abysmal, to say the least, for many reasons. We'll start with you, Mike.
Well, yeah, it's too bad. I mean, they had it there, and just the bullpen hasn't really been doing an adequate job consistently, at least in this last month. You know, they've been back and forth, giving up runs. And, it's kind of, you kind of wonder, who is really the stopper, because it seemed like right now there's not anybody that's really coming in and doing the job.
No, there's not. I mean, I think it's Holmes, Mike, overall, and he got the ball last night, but the problem with Clay Holmes this year, he's got 11 blown saves. And the Yankees didn't go out there and add a big-time swing and miss closer at the MLB trade deadline. That's the concern you have now. I mean, there are other issues when you look at this Yankee team, despite the fact they're sitting here, with 80 wins on the season, but that's a brutal loss. And, Holmes has got to find himself here in the month of September. And if it's not going to be Clay Holmes, who exactly then are you going to lean on? I mean, Leiter Jr., is it going to be Weaver? Cousins has been really good in that bullpen this year. But I do think, the Yankees believe that Holmes is the most talented guy to handle that job. Unfortunately, this year, despite being an all-star, he hasn't done it. And last night was a terrible loss.
Exactly. And then bringing Cortez into the bullpen, I don't know where they're going to possibly use him, maybe as a long reliever, short reliever. It really wasn't explained by the manager. So I guess we'll have to wait and see, how they're going to use him.
During the postseason, Mike, very well, during the 77 playoffs, you were taken out of you were still a starter, but you were pitched a long innings of relief in the 77 series. So it's not unusual for starters to pitch in relief as you did in 1977.
No, because I came in relief for Guidry in the fifth game of the playoff in Kansas City, and I was able to hold them for about 6 1/3 innings, and because they already had a 4-0 lead on us, and we picked away, and ended up winning the game 6-4, and got us into the World Series that year.
Moving to a sticky point that's driven Yankee fans crazy, myself included, is Gleyber Torres. I know he's been hot lately, but 3 years of being MIA and on the back of a milk carton. I'm just not sold on this guy coming up big in the playoffs, Mark.
Yeah, I can understand that, but you're going to hope that maybe, and it has not been a great contract year for Gleyber Torres, Mike, but you're hoping that he's able to kind of have a good stretch final month of the season and then have good October. As far as the future of this team, he's never going to be a great defensive second baseman. The lean is always going to be on the offense, and we've seen him be a prodigious offensive player in the past. Now, that guy seems like a distant memory to the player you see right now, but he's riding a little bit of a heater. That's why Yankee fans that complain about it, well, they've got nowhere really else to turn. They have a second baseman, shortstop / center fielder going out there playing third. Defense is never really a key for this team. It's going to be about offense. We've seen them be sloppy in the field for the last better part of the month. I get the frustration with Gleyber Torres. But when I look at this lineup, he's a little bit more of a bit player. I think it's more Soto, Judge, obviously Giancarlo Stanton, throw in Jazz Chisholm, a little bit of Verdugo, Wells when he's 100% healthy, and the power that he can provide behind home plate. I think those are going to be the driving forces to this team here moving forward. And if they're able to get Birdie back to this team, who just got bumped up from AA to AAA yesterday, that gives them a natural third baseman. So maybe to play to your point where Chisholm then can move to a more natural position to play in second base.
Mike, we've seen Torres kind of get a little upset, kind of like a child in the corner at times. You play for some tough managers in Earl Weaver, Billy Martin, and Don Zimmer. How would they have handled a Gleyber Torres back in the day?
Well, by not hustling, what happened with him recently, I mean, he would have been he would have been probably sent to the showers. And that's the way they handled it back then. I mean, they didn't take, they babysit the guys here in this new era of baseball a little bit too much, and they give them too much a benefit of the doubt. I mean, they're not as, I guess the manager is trying to be nice to them and, hopefully that they can bounce back and, do the good job they're supposed to be doing. But you know what, in our era, it would have been, the guys and players would have gotten on them, really, really gotten on them by them doing what they're doing today.
Another incredible year with Aaron Judge. Mike, you played with some heavy hitters back in your day, Jim Rice, Reggie, Lee May, Dick Allen too, as well, right, Mike? You played with him. How do you compare those hitters to what Judge is as a all-around player?
Well, Judge is having a terrific year. Just an MVP year, and I'd say power-wise, apparently, the ballparks are smaller today than they were back then when we played. The ball when they hit Richie Allen. I mean, he hit 3 home runs one day. I saw him. And he told me I drove into the ballpark with him in St. Louis. He said, "Mike, I'm going to get me 3 today." It's unbelievable. He hit the first one. He comes over. I was sitting on the dugout, and he comes over. "That's 1," he says to me. And then he comes in after he hits the second one. He said, "Mikey, that's 2." And then I said, "Man," he's had another at bat. And I tell you what, every one of them were up in the upper deck above the restaurants in left field. And it was unbelievable, the upper deck, the shots that he hit. He was one of the power hitters that I saw that in my era that could hit a ball as far as anybody.
Mark, we've seen a lot of changes in baseball the last couple of years. Of course, the extra inning games with a man at second base. A lot of talk about Aaron Judge and the intentional walks. Should baseball implement a 1 intentional walk per game per player at some point? Because let's face it, giving a guy a walk at the pass isn't exactly going to keep viewers watching the games and making fans happy at games.
No, but then what are we doing here tactically? Then what's the job of the manager? I mean, that's on somebody else in that lineup to get it going. The pressure is going to be on that individual. I think you've gotten cute to the game in order to improve pace of play, to make it more appeasing to the younger viewer, to try and generate younger baseball fans that don't want to sit there for a 4-hour baseball game, on a May or June night. As far as then now going and saying, well, you only have 1 intentional walk per game that you can use, I think that's getting a little bit too cute. I know the way that Judge is being treated, to me, that takes away the strategy of a game, and it puts more of the onus then where in pressurized spots, say late in the game, if you already used your intentional walk where you have to pitch to a guy, I don't like that. I wouldn't do that if I'm Major League Baseball. I like some of the things that they have done. Don't know if I necessarily love the extra inning rule, but I get it in terms of pitcher safety and health. But I wouldn't do that rule now.
I agree with you, Mark.
All right, hello? So we're gonna keep the intentional passes going then. Okay.
It's a strategy that each team has to use because a lot of times if you have an open base, you have men in scoring position, you have their best hitter coming up. Why not try to pitch? Don't try to throw them a strike. Because a lot of times hitters will get themselves out because they're anxious to hit with men in scoring position. And if you can throw a baseball, if you have as good a control, say 3 or 4 inches outside the plate, they're going to go after it at times. And instead of issuing walks, I don't like that. I don't like the idea.
Yeah, the intentional walk, right? Where you're pitching around a guy, or you're going to see if a guy, as Mike was saying, he knows this better than anybody because he did it on the major league level, which is, a guy feels a little bit of the pressure that maybe necessarily not as all that confident, is chasing a little bit because he feels like he needs to do more. So, we've seen it with other hitters. We've seen it with Bonds in the past. You see it with Judge this year. You see it with other guys that made pool holes at certain spots when he was in the prime with the St. Louis Cardinals. I know it bothers Yankee fans. I know Soto is upset about it. I know we all want to see number 99 go out there and hit in pressurized spots. But to me, that's getting too cute if you're Major League Baseball. If they want to walk him, You've got an open base at first. You don't want to put him on. You don't want to pitch to him, I should say. I'd put him on base and let the next man go out there. Then it's on Wells or whoever's hitting cleanup that day to go out there and get a big time hit.
I guess I'm in the minority on this one. I say one walk per game, but Mike, I'll give you the final pitch here. We've seen the game taken away from managers. How do you rate the job that Aaron Boone is doing with, I guess, the limited decisions he has as a manager?
Well, I the way the game has evolved, it's just so many pitchers today. And the thing is, a lot of times a relief pitcher has control. If he's getting out of the inning, if he gets out of an inning 1, 2, 3, why bring in another reliever? And that's what's going on. I mean, you got to believe that you can still have a reliever pitch an inning or two, or possibly get in 2 innings and maybe a third. Give them that opportunity to pitch, because you get a pitcher coming in, they don't have the feel of the game. And if your reliever comes in and gets 3 outs for you, leave him in there. What the hell? I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what they used to do. Guys used to pitch 2 or 3 innings. Gossage, they weren't going to pitch just 1 hitter or 2 hitters. If he's getting guys out, leave him in there. Let's take a chance. Come on.
Well, we'll keep you in here, Mike. Episode 1 of the Bronx is Burning podcast. We're going to keep Mike throughout the playoff run here through October, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. Well, catch us next week, and you can follow us on Twitter and look for us on YouTube and Spotify.